Hello, angelic human beings. In today's episode, we talked to Brittany Lillegard, a breathwork guide. We chatted about the importance of your breath, harm reduction in the breathwork space, and how to manage anxiety using your breath, which I really needed. I'm Lauren Leon.
And I have been changed, harmonize, for good.
Oof. We are a married couple. That made my hands sweat.
Oh.
We are a married couple learning how to develop our own intuition. And this is episode 97 of Clairvoyaging. Wayfeather Media presents Clairvoyaging.
What's going on?
Hello.
Hey, is this the third time we've tried the intro? Yeah, it is. Is it my fault? No, it's not.
No.
But that's okay.
It's Mama Bear's
Can you
fault.
imagine 97 attempts and no wins?
We've had plenty of wins. You know, sometimes you're just not in a super promotional mood. So you don't write anything to self-promote.
You know what? Who needs self-promotion?
And
Guys,
that's
you know what
okay.
I'm going to promote. Go give someone a hug today. That's our promotion. Okay.
That's a great. Who needs that? Everyone right now.
Everybody.
No matter what. If you're listening to this in January of 2026, then you really, really could use a hug.
Some
and so
people
could other people
need hugs.
And if you're listening to this in, 2027, what's the future like?
Hey, if you're listening to this in 2027, did the collapse happen?
Was Bashar right?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I hope so.
Bashar had a lot to say. I feel like, over the last year.
Let's say it's 2026 now.
Right now.
Let's say it's 2027. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And before everyone left on fleets of motherships, someone pressed play on repeat, and it's only clairvoyaging on Earth. That's it. That's it. It's fart jokes and bad impersonations. And on this one, I drop a real poor Kermit the Frog, and I'm sorry in advance.
But, sometimes you got to just know that things get bad for a little while and then they get better. Right.
Everything gets better.
Right.
All pain is temporary.
So hug people.
And maybe show them your best Kermit the Frog impersonation.
Everyone, let's do a collective Kermit the Frog. Mine is so bad.
What are we going to say? Let's say it together at the same time.
What are we going to... Oh, we're going to hold hands?
Hold my hand.
My hand's sweaty.
Ugh.
Frank's intro just started me off on sweaty palms.
What do we Kermit the Frog say right now? Hurry up.
Doesn't he say hi ho everybody or something?
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hi ho everybody. Oh my God. Well, it's time to introduce Brittany.
Well, let me hear yours.
No,
you don't want it separated?
No one will know whose was whose because it's all bad.
It's awful. But you know what? We're going to bring a little bit of joy today. So is Brittany, because she's just I don't know. Talk about a breath of fresh air. Okay. You'll hear that I was very anxious about learning how to breathe and still working on it. But it was really helpful to hear her describe it and kind of go into it in a really gentle way. My anxiety comes from a place of it always comes from breathing. So I really enjoyed this conversation with Brittany, and I think you will too. There's a lot that you can get out of it.
I know a bit about breathwork, and I learned a lot still. So, yeah. Brittany's a champ.
So cool.
Send it, Lauren.
Go to the moon. Brittany, Thank you so much for joining us on Clairvoyaging. We are thrilled to have you here. And also, I love your like cozy sweater.
It's
You're
cool.
Super cozy over there in Colorado.
So nice.
We haven't had a breathwork facilitator on our podcast before, and we don't know a lot about breathwork, so we're excited to get into it. But first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get into doing this? Just a small question.
Yeah, a small question with a very long answer. So I'll try.
That's fine. A lot of the answers are very long, but it's great.
Yeah. So my journey with breathwork, it's been about a 15-year journey. And it actually started, funnily enough, with losing my breath. My journey with breathwork started, I was in my mid-20s. I think a period for most people where it's finding yourself, figuring out who you are, trying on a lot of different people clumsily. And I started having panic attacks. And for people who've never had a panic attack before, one of the most common symptoms of a panic attack is that oftentimes it makes you feel like you can't breathe.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you'll see these little memes that are like, you can go however many weeks without food, you can go however many days without water, but you can only go like a couple of minutes without breath. So we start to really see the hierarchy of needs that our body prioritizes. And so when you feel like you can't breathe, when you're starved of breath, it makes it feel like you're dying. And so, I had these really intense panic attacks. I didn't know why they were happening. And I was a couple months into them. I was at a conference watching a teacher of mine talk about movement. And he said something that literally like knocked the breath out of me. And it literally was like, if you can't breathe in a position, you don't belong there.
Oh.
And he was talking about body movement, right? Like we can think about like if anyone's ever done yoga and the teacher puts you in this weird like binding move and then the teacher's so calmly is like, and now breathe. And you're like, oh, you breathe, right? Like you walk yourself out of here. And that's what he was talking about. Like if you can't breathe in a position, that means that there's something about that position that you haven't quite earned yet. But for me, it took it a step further. And I was like, oh my God, these panic attacks are taking my breath away. Maybe this is telling me that something about my environment's not in alignment for me. And then later on in that conversation, he proceeds to say, you can't get healthy in the same environment you got sick in.
Oof.
Oof, right?
He's hitting it hard. Does he know what he's doing?
He's an incredible teacher, Dr. Perry Nicholson of Stop Chasing Pain, for those who are curious. So me being me took this very literally. And within 6 months of being at this conference with him, I'd sold everything I owned. I literally was left with what could fit in a 40-liter backpack. And I started traveling the world and backpacking around the world by myself. And I like to say that, gosh, this has been literally 10 years ago this week.
Oh, wow.
I took that plunge. And I like to say that over the last 10 years, I have spent my life learning how to follow my breath.
Wow.
So that's sort of yeah.
And just like starting at the panic attack part, like,
yeah,
I can relate to that so well because the response that when I was also in my 20s, my brother had died. And like a couple months later, I started having really intense panic attacks. And I was like, I'm dying or I'm going crazy. There was like this really weird thing that was happening to me. And I was like, I can't breathe.
The second Lauren gets like overwhelmed by anything, it's immediately like, I know exactly how she's feeling because she walks around the house going, It's like she's literally out of breath constantly. And I go, hey, babe. A, are you okay? And B, please stop. That's so annoying.
Well, first of all, I love that you co-regulate with her. I mean, it sounds like a special way of co-regulation. But,
it's co-regulation. Shut up!
Stop it, that's irritating. But that's the magic of our breath. And for me, that's really where breath work, building a relationship with your breath and getting started with breath work begins, is understanding that our breath is a direct reflection of how we feel in our environment. Mm-hmm. So it gives you data, like real-time data about everything that's going on. How do I feel when I'm interacting with this person? How do I feel when I'm in this space? How do I feel when I'm moving my body or in stillness? Your breath doesn't lie. It tells you exactly how you're feeling. And that is a really empowering place to come from, because then you can say, I know where I am. You can decide where you want to go. And when you have two endpoints, it's a lot easier to create a path that helps you create the life that you want to live, right?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
It makes all the sense. So often we talk about how, like, we always talk about the concept of using your body as a map, right? We're so used to in our culture of repressing our feelings so that we can power through and like be Vikings. And like, we're not really supposed to do that all the time. And it's so funny. I'm always talking about pay attention to your body in terms of like emotions and stuff, or where a certain pain's coming up. But the breath, I mean, oh my gosh, this is like you said, like it's a live data, like it's EKG for your situation.
Yeah. Well, it's what connects your mind and your body. Right. Mm-hmm. So, developing that awareness of your body and that interoception is really huge. But your breath is what's directly communicating between the brain and the body and the body and the brain nonstop. So that's sort of the bridge that sometimes people are really missing when they're connecting with somatic work and somatic practices.
You're the only person that's brought up the term interoception aside from me. Because I learned it when I worked at that wellness retreat, that wellness company. But like ever since then, I glued onto it. I'm like, oh, it's such a big deal. Because we always talk about being introspective, but interoceptive is such a different concept, related, but like a different venue, I guess,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame because we have all of these beautiful primal mechanisms within us that help us connect and interact with our environment and our relationships. And as we move into our teenage years and adulthood, society really teaches us to dampen those things, right? Like, as an example, my dog is a very sensitive little girl. And when she's in a situation that overwhelms her, her hackles will go up. She'll get really tense. And then the second she decides it's safe, she shakes it off, right? And you sometimes will see kids have a lot of these like primal connections to, rocking, humming, all of these inherent tools that help us regulate within our environment. But then as we move into adulthood, we're told like, yeah, that'd be really weird if you're rocking back and forth in the grocery store line. So like, just don't do that. And so the way we bypass those is by ignoring the sensations to begin with. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And so we lose a lot of that interoceptive connection, which is just understanding the sensations within your body. Is it hunger or is it anxiety?
Yeah.
Is it anxiety or is it excitement?
Right. I do feel like kids are more like in tune with exactly like what they need.
Well,
a little bit quicker.
Kids, especially younger kids, like they don't have that part of their brain developed yet where they are self-aware and they know how they appear to other people.
Yeah.
So they are able to like do this without like overthinking it, like we all do, where we have this desire to appear stoic or under control all the time, or which of course, as you know, like being trying to thwart those sensations and stuff. You do it for long enough, and soon you are absolutely out of control. It is now you're just a false front. You're just a shell.
Oh, it's so. I was just thinking about like the way each of us use our breath, because yes, I walk around sometimes like, and I'm doing this like.
She's huffing and puffing and blowing the house down.
If I'm just like thinking about stuff, but also. And I was doing it just now because I start thinking about it and my body goes, I need to take a deep breath. And it's a very specific, not everyone understands what I'm talking about, but it's like this, like almost, it's a deep breath, but there's like a top of my lungs kind of click feeling that I have to achieve or I'll start obsessing about it. I can't explain. No one really... My dad understands it, and I don't know if it's because he has asthma, and maybe I kind of have asthma. I don't know.
A click?
It's not a click, but it's like okay, I caught my breath, but it's not just...
I see.
It's like a catch feeling, like, okay, I got it. Because otherwise I'll just keep obsessing until I calm my body down. And then, have you had anyone explain that before? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not in those specific ways, but I definitely think I've felt similar sensations in high stress states. And, so how I like to explain the breath, mind, body connection is 98% of our day, we're walking around existing from what I call a brain down approach to living. So your brain is collecting all of this data about your environment. And then based off of your past history, it's making an assessment about how you should feel about that environment. And then it literally, one of the first things it does is it tells your breath, I feel this way, reflect that. Right?
Yeah.
And so, especially when we're high stress, what happens is we prepare ourselves for fight or flight or freeze or fawn, a lot of different things. But typically that involves breathing from the top part of our lungs more than the rest of our lungs. So I think that sensation for you is like, I'm breathing in the top part of my lungs mostly because I'm really high stressed. And the only way I can signal to my body that that stress period is over is by getting that breath into the bottom portion of my lungs. That's probably sort of that little clicky part that you're feeling.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so now when we shift to that awareness, we move to what I call from a brain down approach to living to a breath up approach to living. Because what's really cool is normally your brain is telling your breath how to respond. Your brain says, I feel this way. And your breath goes, cool, I got your back. Yeah. But we know that we can consciously override our breathing pattern. So now I can say, my brain is telling me that I feel really stressed about my environment. I can feel that in the way that I'm breathing. But now if I choose a different breath pattern, if I choose a breath pattern that feels more calm, cool, and collected, or open and social and excited, and maybe I laugh, if you do that long enough, it overrides how your brain feels about the environment, which is really cool because now your brain says, ooh, I totally thought that being on stage in front of 4,000 people should be super scary, but my breath is actually like really light and calm and cool. So actually this environment's not scary. And now all of a sudden you have created the environment that you want to exist within rather than your brain creating the environment that you want to exist within.
I love that so much.
That's great.
Magic.
Oh, that's so great. Because I actually have calmed myself down before doing like I'm a performer. So like before a performance or speaking in front of people by what you're saying, I didn't really realize I was doing it, but taking slow, long breaths to like override my system and go like, well, you're fine. You're fine. Everything's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's innate to some degree. We forget that tool exists, but I also would not be shocked. You'll see this a lot with parents and children, and your child is starting to get really worked up, right? And the parent will naturally, with their voice and breath, be like, it's okay. Hey, there's nothing to be scared about. Hey, can we just talk about it for a second? And so through your breath, you're starting to co-regulate their breath, but like you'll do it without even consciously thinking about it, right? Often.
It's funny too, because I learned how to breathe with my diaphragm from learning how to sing, but I don't make the connection to calm myself down by like breathing from the bottom, like part when I'm feeling panicky or stressed. It's all up here.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even think about that.
I'm not a breathwork facilitator, but I'm going to yes and you here for a second.
Please.
Because, so I have, actually I'm working with a coach, like mentor person right now, who is actually a guest on the show. His name is Nick Musica, and he's dope. And, so when I am in these moments of stress, what I do is I don't breathe.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is you treat it differently. You stop breathing.
I actually don't breathe. You hold your that breath. Much at all. And I heard that's not good. But I'm aware of like certain breathing techniques to reduce anxiety. Like I've in the past suffered from panic attacks too and all that stuff. And funny enough to like confirm your experience, as soon as I got out of these systems that weren't working for me, I was able to get off of my like anxiety medication, and now I don't have panic attacks, and I chug coffee like an MFer. So like, it wasn't about the panic and the like a chemical imbalance. It was about living wrong, and that's how it presented for me. I'm sure some people, again, I don't ever want to tell anybody that they don't need their meds. Some people absolutely do, but for me, it's always like a good shot to try and like fix your environment first, right? So back to Nick though, the way I interface with the world and myself a lot is I'm very, very heady. And I used to hate that about me. And it turns out, the more we've gotten into like astrology and human design, it's literally by design that I'm that way. It's supposed to be a superpower of mine. I was treating it as like bullshit. And, Nick is, in addition to being like an incredible coach, is also a very psychic. And sometimes I'll be talking about like, oh, here's what I want to do next. And here's what I want to do next. And he's like, Frank, plant your feet. I'm like, huh? And he's like, plant your feet, close your eyes. And what he has me do is he says, take that awareness from your head and drop it down into your body, into your chest. And then he starts telling me to take some deep breaths. And all these things that I had swirling around and these ideas, having it forcing that interoception into my breath specifically, and then feeling those feelings, and my entire vibe changes from like frenetic to like more in tune with what's really going on. And for someone who has spent a very long time trying to like think like, oh, I know so much about this stuff. I know so much about this stuff. And like I can help people. I'm starting my own coaching thing. Even I can help people work their way through this, but like doing it to yourself is so difficult. And that, I guess my point was like, you were talking about, these feelings and like taking these slow, deep breaths, right? Like I'm sure you're familiar with like box breathing. That used to be a way that I would calm down. But the thing is my head would get in the way. So I end up with this conflict of like, my breath is saying this, but my head is saying, you're not safe. My breath is saying you're safe. My brain is saying I'm not safe. And it created this inner conflict. At the end, I'm just like, why am I so fucked up? But this idea, especially for those heady people out there, learn from my stupid, please. Bringing your awareness down and like getting out of your head, bringing it down into your body, and then taking those breaths, I feel like would really make it click. That would click for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, first of all, Nick sounds dope. I want to meet him. Without him probably thinking about it in this way, but he's helping you learn how to interact with your environment from a breath up place, which again, in my opinion, is one of the most empowering places to interact with your environment. It's a really incredible space. But with that being said, all of us have these innate, like there are certain breathing patterns, and the way I like to explain this is like they're like coded into our DNA. And you can like I can hide somebody's eyes, and based off of how they're breathing, you could probably pretty accurately determine what emotional state they're in. It's pretty incredible how much our breath really truly like it's like these codes that are encoded. An example that I like to use, for example, like when someone's wailing, they're really upset and crying. And when they finally start to come down, what happens? They go, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 2 quick inhales followed by this exhale. We all do it. Yeah. We don't think about it, but it's like this, it's this encoded part of our system where it says this breath equals this. And we all have that. And over time, our environment and our history and our experiences do start to shape our own breath map in our brain. And so, to some degree, I struggle with when people will Google like breathwork for anxiety, and there'll be like 2 or 3 breathwork techniques that consistently come up. And yes, those techniques like box breathing, can be really valuable for people in a lot of situations. But for some people, based off of their own breath map, those breath holds might be a really dangerous space in that moment. And so box breathing can actually trigger anxiety.
I was going to say, I feel like Lauren would hate that now that I said it out loud.
People have told me to do box breathing, and I'm like, that makes me very panicky. I don't like it at all. And I keep thinking like, maybe I just need to like try it more so that I'm not such a wimp about it. But like, I don't like the process of that.
Didn't someone say you like drowned in a past life, or is that you guessing?
No, someone told me that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Triggering.
Yeah, which I can imagine impacts your breath map, right?
Yeah.
And so like, I think one of the best things that people can do, and this is what I teach a breathwork facilitator training. And one of the first things I tell all of my students is I'm going to teach you the rules, but I'm teaching you the rules so that you can more intentionally throw out the fucking rule book and like get funky with it. Because like, I mean, think about it. To some degree, there are arenas in which our breath can put us in dangerous situations. So when we think about these big, explosive, transformational type breathing sessions, they can make you pass out. And if you're doing that near water, if you're doing that while you're driving, or if you're doing that while standing, like there can be some danger around playing with your breath if you're not intentional about the environment that you're doing it in. But with that being said, our breath is literally the deepest birthright of every single person that has ever walked on this planet. And like, we all have a right to explore and get funky with our breath. And while I may have studied the breath a lot, the information that I provide to you will always be reflected to you based off of my own internal breath map. And that's not always necessarily appropriate for you. Like, we all should be getting weird and explorative with our breath. And just because someone says this technique calms you down doesn't mean that that will be your experience with it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
if you're saying that like basically every breath is a data point for us to focus on. And if like we've all been breathing for a long time and you have your own personal history and your own like data bank of knowledge that you have to tap into.
Yeah.
And someone like that, like someone like you is so good at bringing their awareness to the importance of that entire long journal of data they have, where they can like tap into their own wisdom and their own knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did study data analysis. I was a data analyst for a while, and I'm
Really?
a Virgo rising. So data's super important.
Yeah.
Wait, Lauren, are you a Virgo rising?
No, Virgo moon.
Virgo moon. Moon. Okay.
Okay. I like you. We can be friends in real life, I think.
Yeah. We get it.
Yeah.
I really do talk about my breath a lot, and I've kind of figured out how to not allow myself to get in a super panicky state if I'm feeling like I can't take that deep breath or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen as often as it used to, but I'd love to know a technique that's not box breathing that's for anxiety, or like, are there other...
Listen, I'll answer for her. What you need to do is put on some goggles and a snorkel and go underwater and just breathe through a snorkel for 1 hour.
Oh my God. You've also seen me try and do that.
Yes.
I don't hate that idea, actually.
We went snorkeling in Hawaii, and I was a little cold and I was a little panicky, and like going like, and he's like, chill out.
You go back to the sand. You're scaring the fish away.
I was told I was drowned. I was not that I drowned. I was drowned in a past life.
Oh, you were drowned.
So extra layers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this is cool. So I also teach cold exposure.
Oh.
And when you look up benefits of cold exposure online, there are lots of really beautiful benefits that you'll see listed in terms of like cardiovascular health, metabolism, skin health, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's all great. That's not why I practice it.
Like a cold plunge?
Like a cold plunge, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the biggest benefit of a cold plunge is that it's stressful, right? Like 90% of the world, when they get into the cold, what is your immediate reaction? That stress breath, right? It's like straight in the top of your lungs, your shoulders go up, and your body's just like, danger.
Yeah.
In a controlled setting and done with intentionality, it's actually not dangerous. So if we go back to learning how to live from a breath up approach to interacting with our environment, I've now created this very intentional and safe container, because it is actually safe, right? Mm-hmm. Where I have that natural urge from a brain down approach to go ice, cold, danger. But now I have the ability to practice leaning into that breath up approach to life, where I go, nope, we're good here. And so that the magic in cold exposure is getting to the point to where you literally have caught your breath. And the second you've caught your breath, you've just won this massive battle, right? Yeah. Anxiety and stress is the same way. So again, there's all of these techniques that can be beneficial for some people and in certain situations, but sometimes that overcomplicates it. The best thing that you can do when you're in a high stress state is to find the technique that's going to help you slow your breath down. That's it. If you can, so breathing through a snorkel actually forces you to slow your breath down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't like breathing.
I don't hate that idea.
We'll work up to that part. Okay.
Okay.
She's going to start walking around your house in a snorkel mask. Honey, don't worry. I'm just a little stressed for a moment.
We've got kids and socks everywhere. Wearing a snorkel wouldn't be so bad. It'll stink.
There's a little claustrophobia for me with a snorkel, but but I think the key that you're saying is like the slowing down and like really being intentional and coming from the bottom part of like your diaphragm as opposed to, and like not letting your upper chest be in control, right? Like, is that what I'm getting from you? Okay.
Yeah. And you know, what's really incredible is like, there's a couple of principles that our body really likes in regards to our breathing. So one of those is, you know, breathing deeper down. I hate to say belly because you're not actually breathing into your belly, but getting more expansion of the diaphragm in all directions. Your diaphragm really likes movement. And when your brain witnesses movement in the diaphragm, your brain really likes that. So anytime we can give the diaphragm a bit more space, that inherently creates more safety for us.
Okay.
A couple other things that are really, that our brain perceives as really valuable when it comes to our breathing is breathing through the nose versus the mouth. So our brain says, if I'm breathing through the mouth, I must be in a higher stress state, right? It doesn't mean that it's a bad high stress state, right? Like exercising is a good high stress state, but your brain still perceives it as we are in a stressful period right now. So what's cool about that though, too, is just by closing your mouth and using your nose, that automatically forces your diaphragm to work a little bit better. And then the third thing that is really valuable is tongue posture. It's like one of my favorite things to talk about. We could do like 10 podcasts on this. But for a lot of us over time, our tongue can actually atrophy a little bit and it'll start to live in the bottom of our mouth. And the tongue really loves to live in the roof of your mouth. A lot of people don't understand this either, but your tongue is also a diaphragm. So your diaphragm is going to, like, the movement accessible to it actually starts with where your tongue is, where the diaphragm of your tongue is. And so re-educating our tongue to live on the roof of our mouth also makes us feel safe. And, you know, we could go down all sorts of rabbit holes for this, but it's kind of crazy. You can even feel it in yourself. Like, take a moment and just allow your tongue to like press into the bottom of your mouth. And now I want you to gently, And now I want you to gently swallow. And about a midway point of that swallow, you'll feel your tongue sort of suction to the roof of your mouth. Now keep it there. Did you see what just happened? I saw it very clearly. You may not have like felt it or seen it, but when our tongue is in the bottom of our mouth, our body follows. My body goes.
Mm-hmm.
When my tongue is in the proper position, my posture follows. It makes it easier for me to use my diaphragm, and my brain goes, oh, this person is like tall and proud and confident in their posture. So they must be tall and proud and confident in their environment.
Ooh,
so these are all little things these are all little things we can reach for when we're in a high stress state. So maybe the breath doesn't feel safe when you're highly anxious. Maybe you've developed an uncomfortable association with anxiety in your breath. Cool. Let's bring some attention to your tongue. Let's feel your tongue on the roof of your mouth and see what that does. Let's bring your attention to the breath inside your nostrils rather than thinking about your chest or your belly. And let's see what that does. And it goes both ways. We can use these tools immediately in the moment. But when I'm not stressed, if I could practice all of those things, if I can practice creating more space in my diaphragm, if I can strengthen my tongue and re-educate my tongue to live on the palate, if I can re-educate myself to breathe out of my nose more than my mouth, you'll actually start to see that you just get less stressed less often.
Wow.
So you can approach it both ways. It's a tool that helps in the moment, and it's a tool that if you're using it when you're not stressed, helps you in the long term.
So you're like
deep breaths.
I know you see me do it. My tongue should be flat up against the roof of my mouth, right?
It should feel like
Not
a gentle spin. Yeah.
Okay.
What do you do? Do you not do that?
I'm making all these mouth
this
noises.
is
Really
gross.
Yeah.
Do you not do that usually? I've never thought about it. No one's ever told me to pay attention to my tongue. Next, someone's going to tell me I'm going to find enlightenment through my fingernails. But I was noticing that like my tongue like rests on the top of my mouth, and I never even thought about that.
No, it naturally rests on the top of your.
My tongue's always on the top of my mouth.
No,
Oh,
mine's
wow.
not.
Maybe you just unlocked the future, Lauren. This is Lauren 2.0.
No, like I think this
I
is going to
might
be the thing. I think this is going to be the thing. When I get stressed, I'm going to pay attention to like what's my tongue doing, and then
It's such an active like
do a practice.
It's a very present thing. So
It's very present. Yeah,
I mean,
mine's mine's just hanging out. It's not like I don't know. It's not super.
Don't tell everyone that your tongue's just hanging out. They're gonna think you're like a chihuahua. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's so interesting though.
Something that you brought up, Brittany, that is really interesting is that, well, first of all, let me make a quick note. To all of the jocks that I called mouth breathers in high school, see, I was just trying to help you breathe through your nose. That I wasn't being a dick. Also, I'm so happy that you said that belly breathing kind of sucks, because when you're doing yoga and stuff, sometimes people will be like, oh yeah, like take breathe into your belly.
Fill your belly.
I'm always just like, no, my belly don't got nowhere. It's got a hamburger from like that concept always felt really uncomfortable to me. Diaphragm breathing I can do, but when they're like fill your belly, I'm like, how?
Yeah, that never makes sense to me either.
Yeah, it's a cue born out of the fact that when you are using your diaphragm, what happens is your diaphragm contracts, and in order for it to contract, it has to press down on all of the contents in your abdominal. And so visually, that gives the sensation that your belly is moving, but the breath is not actually going down there. It's beautiful because every time your diaphragm does contract that much, you get this nice little massage for all of your organs in the abdominal cavity, which is nice. It's like this little love note for like all that gunk that's like all up in that part of your person. We don't often think about loving, that part of our body often enough. But the diaphragm, it doesn't exist in this backward forward state. It exists in an up and down state. And that also requires our ribs to open up. It requires the breath to move into the low back. And when we're just forcing the belly, it almost causes this desire to put your body in positions that are not necessarily optimal to be existing within, right?
Yeah.
It also, even just me doing it, I'm like, oh yeah, I tuck my pelvis when I really try to breathe into my belly. And we talked about how the tongue is a diaphragm, and then we have what we call the diaphragm, but then your pelvic floor is a diaphragm too. And if those things aren't stacked on top of each other, and if there's dysfunction in any of those things, it impacts all of the diaphragms in the body. Like all three of those diaphragms work together.
Jenga.
Yeah.
Because I'm so not informed about breath work, I've actually been I've heard people talk about it for a long time. clearly I have some kind of trigger that has made me not go. I've not been interested in going to like a breathwork class because I'm like, that sounds overwhelming to me, or like, I don't know, overwhelming. What are you said something?
Let's point something out real quick though, because she called it out that you might have developed an unhealthy, like anxiety-based relationship between your brain and your breath.
I know. I just said that I clearly have some kind of trigger.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad I brought this up to everybody right now. It's really important. Just dropping wisdom again.
But so like I'm sure I should start at some kind of like intro level thing so that I can start like learning how to practice. But I'm just curious because you mentioned like explosive, transformative breath work, something or other. And my brain said, what's that? That sounds scary, but also I'm very curious.
Yeah. So
what is that?
I think it helps to start with defining what breathwork is. And this has become it's always great when something that is a really beautiful tool becomes more mainstream. And because our society is our society, there's a lot of dirty things that come into play when things become mainstream. And in regards to the breath, I think we've really lost what the essence of breath work means. And so that's the first best step, I think, in starting to explore breath work is like, what is breath work anyways? And the way that I like to define it is that breath work is any intentional collaboration with your breath to achieve shifts in your mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual state.
Oh, what a great definition. I feel like we should have started with that.
The magic of editing.
Yeah, shift this part to the beginning for me. Okay, that's so cool.
So when we break that down, there's two words that I really like to point out, and it is intentional collaboration. So our breath subconsciously runs on autopilot 20,000 plus times a day. That's how many breaths we take in a day. And thank goodness it does that, because again, from a hierarchy of needs, breath really sits at the top. No breath, no energy, death. Very simple. And so like, that's such a beautiful part of our body's functioning, but we also have the ability to consciously interrupt that stream, right? So that's where the intentional comes from. It's a conscious decision. I'm going to interrupt this stream. And I like to use the word collaborate because our breath literally it wants nothing more than to see us be alive. And so when we accept that, right, our breath becomes this like beautiful friend rather than this thing that sometimes feels awkward or strained or anxious or stressed, et cetera, et cetera. That's not your breath. That is your breath delivering messages to you from your environment, right? Your breath is not anxious, strained, stressed, overwhelmed. Your breath literally is a messenger. So we can speak with that messenger. We can work with that messenger. We can collaborate with that messenger. That messenger is a really good friend. And hopefully at some point, that messenger becomes a best friend for us on this weird little journey through life. So when we think about it that way, if I tell you to just take one slow breath right now, that's breath work.
Okay.
Anytime you consciously decide to step in and interrupt the stream, you're practicing breath work.
Okay.
You're hacking the system. You're going full man. System override. Breathe like this.
But what's really unfortunate is that like a single conscious breath, like that's so beautiful. You can do that anywhere. You can be frustrated in a grocery store line. You can be, in the thick of road rage. You can be, in the middle of intimacy with your partner. Like, you can throw in a conscious breath, just one, do like anything that you're doing throughout the day. It is really, truly that simple. It's like a little check-in with yourself. It's a little check-in with yourself. Like, hey, do I like this environment that I've crafted for myself? Yes, no. Okay, proceed forward with this new information. But that doesn't sell. I literally just taught you the most powerful thing that you can do with your breath. Please give me $1,000 for telling you just to like check in with your breath every once in a while, right? What sells is like, unfortunately, and I teach these experiences. There's value to them. I really appreciate working with altered states for healing. And you can use your breath to facilitate an altered state. It's incredible. And it's a special experience. It's not the everyday experience.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, like, well, first of all, thank you for that tip on like the single intentional breath, because
that's great.
Thinking about it, it makes me feel like it is the fastest little meditation you can do as like as an intentional check-in, Yeah. And that's really powerful.
That's all. My dad will listen to this episode for sure. And that's all he talks about is like staying in the moment, is paying attention to your breath. And like when he's a singer, he's a professional singer. So like when he's singing, he's always in the moment by being aware of his breath and taking like the next breath. And that's like how he gets his voice so strong too.
And he has a strong voice.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And
that's interesting though.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
And then I guess what you were going to go into right now, I wanted to ask you, like, so that's if taking one big intentional breath is like a powerful, but also very accessible form of doing breath work. What does advanced breath work look like? Because I've seen videos of like, yogi looking people who look like they eat like one piece of cabbage a day, like like sitting there in like a very like tangled position, doing the most intense like stomach breathing, like their stomach's going in and out. And I'm just like, oh, that's breath work? Breath work's not for me. So like, give me a little intro
here.
Yeah. So, okay. First of all, I really dislike the term advanced when used with breath work, right? Because again, like our breath is like the ultimate birthright that we all are born with. And I think deep exploration of your breath, full exploration of your breath is also a birthright. There's no such thing necessarily as like beginner or advanced. Like there are tools to help you learn to connect if you've become disconnected through adulthood and stress in our environment. But, theoretically in a vacuum, being able to explore the full expression of our breath is something that should be accessible and available to us all. So I'll use that caveat.
No, I love it.
With that being said, health issues, environmental issues can definitely, I just want to honor that, there are certain explorations of our breath that we lose access to if our health declines or moves into certain states. That is a very real part of the breath. But, there's many different names for it. This is also one of my frustrations with the breathwork space. There are these techniques that you can work with your breath to breathe in a more like fast-paced state. And everyone and their mother has trademarked a different name for basically the same technique. And usually what will happen is they'll take the technique and then they'll layer something on it. Like, I teach this, but it's with binaural beats. So I can trademark that and you cannot now. Right. Which is such a shame because again, the breath is our birthright. Like there should be no trademarking the breath of any way, shape or form, but it adds confusion to the person wanting to explore that. It adds a lot of confusion. But when we connect with our breath in these sort of like fast-paced states, it shifts our physiology quickly and deeply. I won't get like too much into the science because it can get pretty nerdy. But literally, we can work with our breath. Our breath can very quickly change the pH of our blood, which changes the concentration of gases in our blood, which then changes how things are being or not being absorbed in our cells, including our body and our brain. It shifts the wavelengths that our brain is operating in. It quiets and amplifies certain parts of our brain. And we can use that to step into these altered states of consciousness, which are really beautiful for deep healing. With that being said, I also work in the psychedelic space, and to really get healing out of an altered state, it really requires a very intentional container. It really requires a space where you feel safe. And so, yeah, if it doesn't resonate with you in that moment, you're not going to have a good experience with it, right? If you're already saying like, ooh, that thing kind of frightens me. Well, yeah, that's not a good headspace, right? If we borrow some terminology from the psychedelic space, set and setting, both of those things, your mindset around the experience, and then the safety of the environment in which you're embarking on the experience in, those things will impact the experience.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, that's so interesting.
Even, yeah. You're saying like, that doesn't feel safe. That's me, where I'm like, I don't know what it would take for me to feel actually safe or comfortable doing like even a facilitated like psilocybin like a journey. It
might
scares
be breathing.
me. It might be breathing. Yeah.
I mean, Brittany's told us that we can like set our own safety basically by focusing on our breathing intentionally.
Yeah.
How about that?
Absolutely. And I do. Like a little personal story. I have had what I would call very bad trip in the past. And because of that, every single time I step into a psychedelic journey, there is some anxiety that bubbles up because I don't ever want that to happen again. It was very destabilizing. But what gets me to the point to where I can really surrender and sink into those experiences and still gain a lot of the power out of them is by working with my breath alongside the experience.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Listeners, how many of you are putting your tongue on top of the roof of your mouth like I am this whole time? I am very aware of this now.
If that's what comes out of this podcast is that more people are walking around with their tongue on the roof of the mouth, that is like a huge thing.
And that's when for the next 100 episodes, only talk like this the whole time.
I'm practicing.
Hey, no one said you had to sound like Kermit the Frog. I'm practicing keeping my the tongue of my Jesus Christ. My tongue on the roof of my mouth. Terrible.
I also have been taking slow, conscious breaths since you said it.
You feel good.
I do feel good.
You feel good right now.
Yeah.
It feels good to be next to you.
Can you tell?
Yeah.
Look at this, Brittany. I really feel like this is a turning point for Lauren. I've avoided the breathwork stuff because I'm like, it hasn't worked for me before. Box breathing. That's some bullshit. I don't want to hold my breath for 4 seconds. Which is really like kind of, it feels pathetic to say because I can hold my breath, but yeah, when every time people tell me like count for 4, take a deep breath for like 6 seconds or like a really long amount of time, and now blow it out for a really long amount of time. I'm like, oh, I was done 4 seconds ago. Y'all are still going? Like, I'm too stressed for that. Or too, like, I don't know, triggered, I guess.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and
I appreciate that so much.
Things that, can help shift that if you want to find more comfort in that space. And at the end of the day, you're your own agent of your breath. And if you never want to get to the place where that's an exploration that you want to step into, do you? Like, that's cool.
I do.
Yeah.
I've just been too intimidated by it. But even just the simple like baby steps of slow, intentional, conscious breaths and my tongue, and the bottom up, those things are, I think I'm going to take that and then I'll be like, okay, I think I'm ready. Once I've been practicing more, I'm ready to try another tool.
I love that.
Thank you.
We should do it. We should do a
foundation
session at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
You're an incredible wealth of knowledge, and thank you so much for spending time with us today. Can you tell everybody where to find you and where to book your work?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. On Instagram, you can find me in 2 different locations. The first is Breathwork Caravan. That's sort of a more personal page. I do share some breath stuff, but there's also a lot of lifestyle, quirky. I'm very quirky and weird, so that typically gets a little amplified there.
That's why we like you.
Yeah. And then my organization that I facilitate through is called Move Breath. So movebreath.com. You can also find Move Breath on Instagram. And that's really where I offer all of my breathwork experiences, my breathwork education. Really working on expanding those this year. So if anyone has listened to this and you're particularly interested in something, I'd love to hear more about just what the masses want to see more of. So, yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Very cool.
I love that.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. And
yeah,
we will catch you soon. I want to chat more.
Yeah. So nice
For
to meet
sure.
you.
I want to be friends in real life.
Please.
You can't get out of this. Yeah.
I know.
Wait, does that mean I have to go to 10,000 feet to hang out? Because I'm not gonna...
I'll come to you.
We will be much better with our breath work.
I still think there's going to be some wheezing. Thank you for listening. Visit clairvoyaging.com for merchandise or to access free resources to help you on your spiritual journey. Subscribe to our Patreon for more content or join for free to chat with us. Clairvoyaging is a fiscally sponsored project of Fractured Atlas, a 501c3 charity. Make a tax-deductible donation to support our mission to foster understanding, respect, and curiosity for diverse spiritual belief systems. Clairvoyaging is a production of Wayfeather Media.